St. Catherine's Hill is one of the highest points on the Isle of Wight. The views from up here are just fantastic in all directions. You get a real sense of how special the island is, so close to the rest of the more developed parts of southeast of England. The hill and the tower of St. Catherine's Oratory are both named after the patron saint of sailors. The island has a strong connection with the sea, with smuggling and shipwrecks, and the story of this building goes back to medieval times. In 1313, a ship called the St. Mary of Bayonne was wrecked off St. Catherine's Point. She was carrying, amongst other things, 174 barrels of communion wine. Now, there are many stories of people benefiting from wrecks, the sailors selling the goods to local people. In this case, a local man called Walter de Godderton was implicated. Because the wine was the property of the Catholic Church, he was ordered to sponsor a chapel on the top of St. Catherine's Hill and to pay for 2 monks to say prayers for the souls of those who had died at sea. Their other job was to tend a light to warn ships of the dangers of this coast. The oratory tower is locally known as the Pepper Pot. It's also often referred to as a lighthouse. Now, this 16th century sketch map of St. Catherine's Hill shows the building as a chapel. The tower could just as well have been a bell tower. Beside the little chapel in the sketch are 2 piles of sticks, and they could have been the pyres that were lit as beacons to warn ships of the dangers of the coast. You can still see the outline of the chapel on the ground in the grass, and up on the tower itself there's a slot in the stonework where the roof used to join on. Just imagine what it would have been like for the 2 monks living up here all year round, fairly drafty in the winter. The top of St. Catherine's Hill is chalk downland, and while it's been reseeded and fertilised in the fairly recent past, many of the chalk grassland flowers that should have been on the top here have survived on the steep slopes of the quarry behind me. Gradually, as time goes by, we're no longer fertilising, we're grazing with cattle. Those chalk grassland flowers are spreading up onto the top of the down. So here you can see we've got, there's bird's foot trefoil, some fairy flax, and some quaking grass, and the lovely pale yellow flowers of the mouse-eared hawkweed. This is one of my favourite ridgetop walks on the Isle of Wight. The lower part of the ridge behind me is called St. Catherine's Down. That's on upper green sand, so that means we've got different habitats of acid grassland, scattered gorse and bracken. And this is a really nice bit of acid grassland with a nice mixture of the sheep fescue, red fescue, delightful red flowers of sheep sorrel, and then in profusion here the heath bedstraw. Really lovely. The thick layer of upper green sand that forms St. Catherine's Down emerges as dramatic cliffs above Knowles Farm and St. Catherine's Point. These are beautifully sculptured with layers of hard chert, which is a bit like rough flint. This is where our story takes us next.